Hello, everyone. We'll get kicked off in just a few. Okay, I think we can get started. So thank you everyone for joining us. We're really excited for today's webinar, the Open Platform Playbook for Community FIs. My name is Annie Olshafi. I'm a general manager on the customer success team at Narmi. I've been here for just over 3 years, and I work closely with some of our amazing banks. I get a firsthand look at how they prioritize their communities and their customers. We're really excited to dive into the conversation today and discuss how community financial institutions can maximize their digital banking capabilities and innovate on their own terms through the use of an open platform like Narmi. I'm thrilled to be joined by representatives from two of our financial institutions today, Middlesex Federal Savings Bank and First Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're writing the blueprint on how we implement advanced and modern fintech tools that today's customers and members are asking for. Before I get into it, we're going to kick it off by just going through our agenda briefly, and then I'll pass it over to Katie after introductions. So today we're going to begin by doing an overview on what an open platform is, why it's important, and how you can take advantage of it. And then we're going to explore two different case studies on how FIs have been able to implement really crucial third-party tools through an open platform. We're going to start with First Citizens integration with Card Hub, which is a digital card management suite. Adrian and Katie are going to provide a deep dive into that process. And then Karen and I are going to detail how Middlesex successfully implemented a fully agentic AI tool through an integration with payment AI in under 90 days. These two distinct case studies are going to helpfully illustrate the vast possibilities that can be unlocked by an open platform and demonstrate the benefits of a highly flexible release timeline as well. After that, we're going to transition into a joint discussion. We're going to examine what speed to market looks like in practice. And then finally, we're going to go through some Q&A at the end of the session. So please don't be shy. Submit your questions through the webinar via the chat function, and then we're going to address all of them at the end. First, I'm going to pass it over to Adrian, Karen, and Katie to give their introductions, and then Katie will take over. Adrian?
Hi, everybody. I'm Adrienne Watson. I'm with First Citizens Federal Credit Union. I'm the Director of Core Improvement and Innovation. I've been with the credit union for about 24 years, most of those in the retail branches, but in the last 8 years, I've been overseeing our core relationship and any and all efforts to help enhance that. Super excited to be here today.
Karen, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Karen Grinrod from Middlesex Federal Savings. I'm currently in the role of platform innovation. My background is basically in deposit operations. I've been with the bank for 14 years and been a Narmi client for 6 months, 8 months, about 8 months. So pretty excited about it. And I welcome this opportunity.
Awesome. And I'm Katie. I am a general manager here at Narmi. I've been here for about a year supporting our credit union customers, and I am really excited to be here today. So if we could go to the next slide, I wanted to begin with just a little bit of a refresher on what Narmi One is and how the openness kind of fits into that. So this is our integrated platform that combines account opening, digital banking, fraud protection, instant payments, and a seamless back office into this one deeply unified yet flexible solution. So a huge part of where this flexibility comes from is through Narmi Open, which is our API integration that gives you a low code method for building the necessary integrations and reaching, excuse me, reaching your digital transformation goals safely and efficiently. So if we could go, thank you. What does having an open platform really mean? As you can see on this slide, openness refers to how Narmi prioritizes the ability to allow our FIs to connect to other platforms, fintechs, and partners. So we obviously know that community banks and credit unions are constantly facing the pressure of being caught between rising user expectations and kind of the rigid release cycles of those traditional legacy cores. And so by leveraging this form of an open architecture, our goal is really to be able to bridge the gap between the stable core systems and the fast moving world of digital transformation. So the reason that all of this matters is that your growth should not have to wait on anybody else's timeline. We really hope that we are able to help you all kind of foster innovation by allowing you to own that integration layer. So instead of waiting months and months for like a standard integration, we want you to be able to use our open APIs to connect with those third parties, and that you're going to be able to bring that value to your community. We want you to be able to scale without permission. So an open framework allows you to do this without being limited by the traditional constraints of the core. And you really have the autonomy to build, test, and kind of deploy those new features on your own. I think things like the agentic AI or specialized business tools kind of can meet your timeline and match the speed of the market with this open architecture versus, again, having to wait for that traditional implementation. And finally, this gives you the ability to kind of future-proof your tech stack. So you can ensure that as new technologies emerge, your institution is positioned to surpass the competition rather than having to play catch up. So to get into what this looks like for a real financial institution, I am excited to speak with Adrienne from First Citizens today about what this journey with Fiserv Card Hub has been like and how this integration was possible through Narmi's open platform. So to give just a little bit of context on this integration, Card Hub is a comprehensive suite for card management that brings advanced card tools like real-time alerts, enriched merchant data so that you can actually recognize your transactions, and travel notices directly into the digital banking experience. Adrienne, we are thrilled to hear more about how First Citizens was able to refresh your members' experience through these digital tools, because we all know that in today's landscape, that if a member can't manage their card securely from their phone, that they're going to go find another financial institution who will help them do that. So by integrating these table stakes features, we're really hoping to open the door for your members to have that autonomy. To start, how do you think that providing members with these self-service tools has kind of changed the depth of your relationship with them? And kind of how does that compare to some of those more traditional card management things that you've worked with over the last decade?
Well, I would say, over the years, our members or customers have really wanted to be able to turn their cards on and off easily. I think that's become kind of a stake in the experience that our members are looking for. But because fraud is ever changing, they're also looking for more information, more ways to be able to see what's going on with their cards. And so with this, it has allowed that ability for our members to self-serve their cards, and they can go in and do anything that they like. So that self-service abilities within Card Hub, such as the transaction alerts and the controls for spending, really allow them to pick and choose what they want to happen on their card. So that helps reduce the fraud, gives them a peace of mind, which I think also then enhances their trust in the financial institution and really adds that additional layer, which is very beneficial for the member and the financial institution, because trust is everything. So it really, I think that is where we're going over the next few years, is to build that trust layer.
I love that. And what do you think are some of the features that are deal breakers for your members that are maybe banking elsewhere? And do you feel like giving your members the ability to manage their own card limits and travel notices, for example, has like decreased overhead for your branch staff or kind of the amount of work that they're having to do?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, I'll mention the turning the card on and off feature, because it seems like everybody has that today. So definitely want to be providing that. But I think the other big piece for us is travel notifications, where you see an increase of members or even ourselves every day. We're very busy. We have so much going on, so they don't have to sit there and rely on, is the financial institution open, so I can call them or message them and let them know I'm going on vacation. What happens in that time when you're just about to board the airplane and you totally forgot that one thing to do on your to-do list. So I think those are some of the deal breakers when it came to what we were looking for. we've only been live on Card Hub for 6 months. However, we are seeing our members increasingly using the service. So it is helping our contact center and retail branch team members in regards to the day-to-day questions for some of the things that um, come through all the time, such as being able to turn off the card because they just misplaced it, but they don't want to lock it out, or those travel notifications. And as we talk to members, we educate them. So we're hoping in another 6 months, it'll be even easier.
Awesome. I know that timelines are usually a concern with some of these more core heavy integrations. Can you kind of walk us through how your team approached the coordination between internal stakeholders, the card processor, maybe even Narmi to kind of keep the pace that you needed?
Yeah. So with the timelines, we're very conscientious about the timelines over here. We did receive a draft or a rough idea of a timeline. Essentially, we kept a very good eye on it when it came to everything, but we made sure we wrapped in the Fiserv team, we wrapped in our Narmi team, and everybody was very communicative. So it was excellent because if anybody had a question on either side, there were usually very quick answers. And if not, the appropriate people would pitch in and be able to try to push things along. So, and I would say that that's strongly for Narmi. The constant communication with Narmi was very key in that. So ultimately, that helped us go live very close to our go live date. I think we were only about 5 days late from the initial date.
We love to hear that. And a little kudos to Anita on our customer success team. I know that she worked really hard on that implementation. What was the biggest hurdle that maybe you expected to encounter, and what were you most surprised by with the implementation?
Biggest hurdle I would say was just the initial connection with Fiserv and Card Hub. Whenever integrating with a very large vendor that's been in service for so long, it's always a little worrisome when you're trying to do a brand new connection with them. But again, the consistent communication, Narmi's open platform, and the knowledge base to be able to do what you guys do really kind of helped that along. So it wasn't really that big of a hurdle at the end of the day.
That's great. Okay, well, I think it's clear that getting card experience right is really about kind of mastering the essentials of modern banking. But once you have that stable foundation and an open architecture in place, it allows you to start looking kind of at the next frontier. So thank you to Adrian for coming on and speaking about this. Hopefully that's a good bridge to lead into our next case study with Middlesex Federal Savings, where they have really moved into what looks like the world of agentic AI. So I'll hand it back over to Annie.
Thanks, Katie and Adrian. It's really great to hear how you guys have used the platform to integrate these tools. We know that card products keep the users engaged and excited to engage with the platform, so it's really great. We're going to pivot the conversation to Middlesex Federal Savings Bank, where we've taken the same open foundation, but we pushed it in a different but equally programmable direction. So Middlesex wanted to provide a superior customer service experience, and we know that this meant moving beyond a simple chatbot feature. So we were really excited to be able to help them with their implementation of payment AI via our forward deployed engineering team. We were able to turn their digital banking platform into an interface for a fully functional agentic AI agent that they call Davis. Karen, I know that we've spent a good amount of time discussing this. Could you provide a little bit more context for everyone here, what this agent is, where the inspiration came from for it?
So I'm excited to talk about it, Amy. As you know, you hear about Davis all the time. So Middlesex Federal, our first fintech partner, is about 8 years old. Their former product manager left the fintech and joined Payman. So we had all kept in touch. He's just one of our family. And he reached out once he partnered with Payman, knowing how forward thinking we are. He reached out and said, would you guys work with us? So Payman came to be one of our partners because of a previous relationship. They say that the banking world is pretty small, and it's sometimes a lot smaller than we think it is. So having this partnership previously with Akash and knowing his work ethic and what he puts into it, we decided that we would jump in and create Davis. So here we are.
Thank you. Thank you for that background. Can you touch on some of the hesitations behind implementing an AI agent? So we know that there is a lot of apprehension when it comes to the AI boom these days and finding ways to keep up with its demand. So I think we'd all love to hear from your perspective how Middlesex got over that hurdle and leaned into the integration, especially because we know these type of tools are becoming way more common.
So AI has its own set of issues because everybody is afraid that AI is going to take your job. ATM machines didn't take our jobs. Digital banking didn't take our jobs. Debit cards, none of that eliminated what we need for tools at the bank. AI can be scary because you all see the crazy stuff that's out on the internet, but we all live with AI every day. It's in our phone. I'm not going to mention any names because then we will have everybody's phone asking what they can help with. But it's part of our general lives. So what our intention is to take AI and use it as a tool to make the digital banking experience that much more interactive. So the hurdles are our own fears. And once you start working with it, it becomes fascinating on what you can teach them to do, because everything that Davis does, Davis has been taught. He's been taught where to go for information. He's been taught what he can and can't do. He's been taught how to speak to a customer. So we control those things. It's not like we have just turned him loose and said, here you go, Davis, just go do whatever it is that you want to do.
Absolutely. And we're talking a lot about agentic AI. We're calling it Davis, but can you provide color for the folks listening? How does having an AI that can actually execute a wire or a transfer on behalf of a customer or a member differentiate from what we see as a more standard chatbot experience that other vendors use?
One of the examples that I have discussed with you guys on several occasions, and I've discussed it with Payman, is that a standard chat box has a list of questions that they can answer. And if you ask something that's just outside of that box, they don't have the ability to interpret what you're trying to ask. And I had a situation that I was trying to get an answer from another financial institution on something. So I went to the website, went to the chat bot. My question didn't fit into any of their options. So after the chatbot got very frustrated with me, it referred me to the 800 number. And when I got to the 800 number very nicely told me that I should go to the chatbot. So my frustration with the chatbot is they can answer questions, but they're limited in the scope. With Davis can execute transactions, and that's the base of your question here, obviously. Davis isn't too, you can misspell your question. You can list it with no punctuation, no anything, and Davis can interpret that. Davis can say, oh, okay, Karen wants to do a wire. Who does she want to wire? Is it one of her existing payees? So Davis comes back and says, hey, Karen, who do you want to wire? Oh, I want to wire Annie. Okay, well, I don't see Annie in your contacts. So here's the information that you need to give me. And he actually does all of the steps. He goes out and he does the OFAC check for me. He makes sure that the customer knows that if you're wiring $100, you need $115 to cover your fee. So it's great that he has that ability to interpret what you're trying to do. And before he does it, before he executes any transaction, he asks you to validate it. And whatever validations we use in Narmi, those validations are used by Davis, and it appears just like it does if it's coming from Narmi. I personally log in on payday, and I go in and instead of navigating all throughout Narmi, which I love, by the way, but I go to Davis and say, okay, I need you to move this money here and this money here and this money here. And can you tell me if this item's been paid? All of that, he goes and does and comes back and gives me the answer. Another example that I can give you is tax time. I needed to know how much I paid my city in city taxes. Well, I don't necessarily save that slip, or I do and I don't remember the very safe place that I put it. I went into Davis and said, hey, Davis, tell me what I have paid to the city of Lynn in the last 13 months. So he went out, evaluated all of my history, came back, gave it to me. Well, he also included the fact that I went to McDonald's one day and that I had gone to the ATM in Lynn, but he was able to execute that for me instead of me going in and doing searches and worrying about whether or not he could find it. So the power that he has is, it's as powerful as Narmi is. But the big thing to remember, it's still within the confines of my bank and my Narmi situation. So he's not going out to the internet to find you an answer. He's using my system. He's using my resource documents, and he's using the information in Narmi. So for him to be able to do these things, it's way better than a chatbot. Way better. It's like you're talking to a person. Davis is my friend.
Absolutely. And we've spoken about that before, how it's almost like having, every customer gets their own personal banking assistant where it can really help them and answer questions, like you said, directly from your resources. So it's information that they're getting that is very specific to Middlesex and not general, which also helps kind of provide that custom experience.
Mhm.
Let's shift gears just a little bit, right? So for this project, you collaborated with our forward deployed engineering team, and that's typically a bit of a departure from traditional vendor relationships. So for those of you here listening, our FDE team sits between our engineering team and our customers, and they help us deliver custom projects to our financial institutions. So Karen, can you maybe talk through that a little bit, and how did that partnership help you and Middlesex operate in as nimble a manner as possible?
It was a wonderful experience. Everybody on your team was more than willing to step up and work with either people from the bank or directly with Paymian when they had questions. They were very responsive, very helpful in helping us get everything configured, both in UAT and production. The whole experience was unbelievably smooth. From the customer service team to the FDE team, everybody had our backs on this. And I honestly felt like we had the full support of your company in helping us to achieve this. Because I know that it would not have gone this way on my previous vendor. It just would not have.
We love hearing that. Thank you. And I remember our first initial calls on this, and you guys were like, we need this ASAP. So I think 90 days from starting to having it live is really impressive. So I appreciate your partnership and all that as well, getting that live. Looking ahead, what's a capability that Davis may be able to perform in the near future that you're excited about?
So there are a lot of things that I someday hope that Davis can do. One of the big things is I know that Narmi is working towards voice activation. It currently works if you're on a mobile device. So I'm looking forward to that because most people are on the go. I think it's really important for us, because we are a small financial institution, to stay ahead of the game and be as creative as we can. So in my opinion, sky's the limit. If Narmi lets me have access to it and Payman can make it work, I want to do it because this is going to make us stand out from other financial institutions. We're a small three branch community bank. Where we are located in Davis Square, I have Sovereign, I have Citizens is on the street, Bank of America is on the street, and a very large local bank, Rockland Trust, is at the other end of the block. So whatever I can do to stand out from what the big guys are doing, and so far nobody has anything like Davis that we've been able to find. So I'm truly appreciative that we've been able to do this and do it with the support of NARMI as quickly as we did. So that's pretty cool to have that kind of a partnership.
Thank you. And we love being a part of it. It is actually really innovative, like you said, right? Actually, some of the bigger banks don't have something like this. So it's really nice to be able to provide truly a unique experience for your end users, and truly differentiate. So it's been amazing to be a part of that with you. By moving into this agentic model, it seems like Middlesex has effectively shifted into being an active partner for their customers, which is really important. This implementation really proves that when you own your own integration layer and you can leverage Narmi's flexible engineering approach, you're really able to bypass traditional limitations of the core and then build a platform that can evolve as fast as you want it to. So thank you so much, Karen, for sharing that experience with us. I'm going to pass it over back to Katie now to lead some of our joint discussion and continue this conversation further. Katie?
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Karen. I think looking at these two stories side by side now, first with First Citizens, excelling in the card management space, and then Middlesex pioneering this new field of agentic AI, there's definitely a common denominator here of like bypassing the traditional core development cycle to launch these more sophisticated tools in really a fraction of the time. So I'm curious, both Karen and Adrian, how has this changed the way that you all think about your digital roadmap? Are you thinking about bigger implementations now? Maybe Adrian, if we want to start with you, and then we can hop over to Karen.
Sure. So we're a little bit untraditional where we don't necessarily build a roadmap, but we do look at things in an organic manner. So if something comes to us, whether that's myself, somebody in the team recognizing a need, or somebody brings something to us, such as one of our partnered vendors. We always take a look at everything and see if it really works. For an example, we've got a new product that we're hopefully going to be launching in the near future with Narmi that Narmi brought to our attention, which offers rewards on debit card usage, which is something that we've talked about in the past. So we're really excited to get it up and running. It's very early stages. But again, the integration with card rewards is what it would be called, is something that we're truly looking forward to. So when it comes to a digital roadmap, just anything and everything is basically out there for us. And when the time's right, hopefully we can flip the switch and do it.
Love it. Karen, what about with you guys?
I think that the big thing is an open flat platform allows a community bank that doesn't have the resources to respond. And I think that that's the big thing. And so, with some of the other platforms that we looked at before we decided on NARMI, that didn't exist. It didn't exist on our previous platform. So we were stuck in that little box of, here's what we have. Well, here's what we have wasn't enough. There were things that were promised that weren't delivered. With the open platform, we have the ability to do as much or as little integration as we want. So you get to control your growth. You get to control what roads you go down, and those roads are endless. It's wherever your imagination can take you. If you can find a partner, NARMI will work with you to make it work.
That's awesome. You kind of hit on my next question, which was around just, how you think about an open platform being kind of a fundamental requirement at this point, especially to survive against some of those mega banks and fintechs. You've kind of already hit on it, Karen, but Adrian, I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to add kind of on that point.
I totally agree with Karen. You do kind of get stuck in a little bit of a scenario and with what your partner, those legacy systems may be offering. So with the openness with this platform, I think it's just it the sky's the limit ultimately. So truly,
Cool.
yeah, I think it is something that the community banks need to help go go along with or compete against the bigger ones.
And if you could give one piece of advice to community FI leaders who feel kind of like stuck or held back by their core's release cycle, what would it be? Karen, maybe we'll start with you.
I think the biggest thing that I would say to other financial institutions is don't be afraid to ask why. Don't be afraid to ask why not, especially where a lot of banks are partnering with fintechs. Well, if a fintech can do something on my core, why can't I? And banking is not in that little box anymore. It doesn't have to be in that little box. And like Adrian has said, whatever we can think of, wherever that road goes, whatever the opportunity is, we have the ability to take it. I came off of a digital banking platform that did releases twice a year. My head started spinning when we started talking to Narmi, and they're like, yep, we do releases every month. I have logged into my test system more than I have in the previous 13 years that I've been with the bank. So it's refreshing because now I don't feel so stuck.
That's awesome. Adrian, what about you?
Yeah, something similar to what Karen said. I'd say just don't be scared to branch out and look at basically everything and anything while you're asking those questions of why not. Sometimes the smallest idea can bring you big rewards. So at the end of the day, sometimes those big leaps are the scariest ones, but they bring you the biggest rewards, which I feel is what we ended up with when we made the leap from our legacy digital banking platform to joining Narmi 3 years ago. So,
Well, before I open up the floor to questions, I want to say a massive thank you to Adrian from First Citizens and to Karen from Middlesex for being a part of this. Thank you both for being so transparent about your implementation processes and kind of what working with the Army team has been like. You've really shown that when community FIs are given the right tools, I think that they can set the pace for what the digital standard actually is across the industry. So if we can go to the next slide, we've had a few questions come in via the direct message, but if you have questions, please feel free to throw them into the chat. I'd like to spend a few minutes kind of addressing these. So to kick us off, you're both welcome to answer this, but I'm not sure if one of you feels more inclined. How do you think about managing security and compliance concerns when connecting these third-party fintechs to your core?
I'll jump in if Karen's okay with that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we kind of look at each integration a little differently. Who's ultimately owning that relationship, whose responsibility it is. And for instance, our card related integrations, there's a lot of rules, regulations, compliance around that. So we ask a lot of questions. But generally what we've seen so far is no larger than a risk of just having a digital banking platform in the first place. So again, you kind of have to look at it a little differently and just depending on each integration.
Karen, I'm not sure if there's anything different or anything you wanted to add.
No, I agree with Adrian. You have to look at each situation as it comes. Again, it's not necessarily one size fits all. So you have to be adaptive.
Cool. And Karen, the next question that came in, I think, kind of spins off of this. Well, what sort of guardrails are in place for Davis if it makes mistakes or if a member kind of disputes an action that it took?
So every single conversation with Davis is logged. and we have the ability to go in and look at it. So should someone be unhappy with the answer that Davis gave, we can go back and look at that information, that entire exchange. And again, Davis, I call him he, Davis has been given access to obviously all of the information that we have within Narmi, but we've also provided our terms and conditions, all of our disclosures. So when he answers a question, he is going to the same source documents that an employee would go to. He's no different. Davis is not treated any differently than any of our employees. The good thing is he works 365 days a year. He doesn't ask for a vacation.
No PTO for Davis.
No PTO for Davis.
Another question just came in. How much development lifting is needed from your teams in-house to have some of these functionalities?
For the card related ones that we've done recently, so Card Hub and Card Rewards, with Card Hub, we did not have a lot of internal development needed on our end, and I don't anticipate too much from Card Rewards. I do know there is going to be some work. However, we take the approach of we test everything to the point of hoping we break it, just so we know every possible scenario that we can conceptually think of. So that would be the biggest work for us. And then just doing the due diligence to make sure everything is connecting properly. But we didn't have a huge amount of development, but I'm assuming Karen has a different spin because Davis sounds a little bit more complicated, but fun.
Actually, I don't know. Davis was probably easier to implement than Card Hub because we were building it from scratch. I wasn't trying to take the vendor that provides Card Hub and put it in my own box. So to be completely honest, if you look at Payman's conversations about what we did, we spent 3 days sitting at my dining room table in Florida, laying out the things that we wanted Payman to be able to answer. And it started out with version 1, we had about 10 things that I let him do. By the time we finished, we were up to, I believe it was 57 3 days later, and it has built from there. So I did the basic layout with one other person from our team. Then we put it into UAT and 4 of us tested, and then we opened it up to the rest of the bank and said, here you go, ask your questions, tell us what you like and tell us what you don't like. So it's been a pretty interesting journey. People that originally told me that they would not want to use it have used it, so, and love it. So implementation was not bad for us. But again, I was working with someone that I was really, really comfortable with. So I wasn't trying to build that new partnership relationship. So I was just hanging out with an old friend, and Davis came to be. So it's been pretty exciting.
That sounds great. There was a follow-up question sent, which is, it sounds like it's test-driven, but most of these configurations, it sounds like for internal employees and development is done by Narmi and the other vendors. Is that accurate to say?
I would say that's true in the card related aspects. Narmi
Cool.
does most of the development and connecting to the vendors. We just have to ask for tweaks if we see them, and again, do a lot of testing.
Cool.
The same. Narmi and Payman did all the stuff. There were a couple of things that I had to do in admin to allow access, but that was following a 4-step process. So Narmi did all the heavy lifting.
Cool. We're happy to help. Okay, last question, I think, and then we'll start wrapping up. Adrian, with the Card Hub integration, did you end up doing a soft launch or a pilot group before rolling it out to the full membership, or what did that kind of end up looking like?
So we did have a small test group. We use the segments within digital banking to allow that. And it was very small. It was just within our team members within the organization. Again, we just did some testing as much as possible, turned on virtually on all of the alerts and tried turning off the card while standing in the store, seeing, different things like that. And then once we were comfortable, I would say within a couple of weeks, we turned it on for our whole membership.
Cool.
If
Okay,
I could just say one thing, because
please.
Adrian just mentioned it, segments. The way that Narmi is configured allows us to test the daylights out of something in UAT and iron out what we think are all of the wrinkles. But having the ability to turn a feature on just in a certain segment is truly powerful, because then you're in the real world environment and you have real people doing real transactions, which makes all the difference because you're not having to roll it out to everybody. So I think that from my perspective, that's a huge plus.
We love to hear that. Thank you, Karen. Okay, I think I haven't seen any other questions come into the chat. So with that, we will wrap up our questions. Before we close, I want to selfishly quickly highlight our upcoming Innovators Retreat that's going to be taking place this fall in Detroit. This is our annual conference that over the course of 3 days, we will have discussion related to AI, innovation, deposit growth, fraud, instant payments, business banking, all that good stuff. But even beyond the sessions themselves, I think it's also just a really great opportunity to connect with your peers, swap ideas with other financial institutions, and of course, explore Detroit. So if you would like to register, please feel free to scan the QR code. I think that the link just got dropped into the chat as well. Let us know if you have any questions. We would really, really love to see you there. But thank you, everybody, for spending some time with us today and for all of your thoughtful questions. As a quick reminder, you will receive a follow-up email with a recording of the webinar, so please be on the lookout for that. And if this has sparked any ideas that you want to explore more deeply or have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly. We would love to help you think through what that could look like for your FI. So we really appreciate you all being here. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Enjoy.